Chapter 4, Mishnah 4. The Mishnah now returns to the case of an animal fetus that stuck its foreleg out of the womb before the mother was slaughtered. If an animal was having a difficult labor and the fetus stuck its foreleg out of the womb and someone cut it off, making the foreleg Erev Kippur, and then he slaughtered its mother, the meat of the fetus is tahor, even though it touched the foreleg that was Erev Kippur, because the meat was not a food when it touched the foreleg. But if he slaughtered its mother and then cut off the foreleg that had gone out of the womb, the meat of the fetus is tame, like someone that touched a nevela, because the meat was a food when it touched the detached foreleg, which is tame like a nevela. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. The sages disagree, but the sages say by touching the foreleg, the meat of the fetus is like something that has touched a terefa that was slaughtered, which is not tame. For just as we find regarding a terefa that its slaughter, though it does not permit it for eating, purifies it from becoming a nevela, so too does the slaughter of an animal purify the protruding limb of its fetus from the tomb of nevela, even though that slaughter does not permit the limb for eating. Rabbi Meir, who holds that the mother shechita is not effective at all for the fetus's extended limb, responds to the sages. Rabbi Meir said to them, "No, your comparison is incorrect. If the slaughter of a terefa purifies it from being a nevela, something that is happening to its own body, does it follow that the slaughter of the mother should purify the protruding limb of her fetus, something that is not her own body? That is, perhaps the shechita of an animal removes the nevela status only from her own body, even if she is a trefa, but not from something external to her, such as the protruding limb of her fetus." The Mishnah has finished its discussion regarding the extended foreleg of a fetus. The Mishnah now discusses the basis for the law it had mentioned regarding shechita purifying a trefa from the tumah of a nevela, a law that both Rabbi Meir and the sages agree on. From where do we know regarding a trefa that its slaughter purifies it from becoming a nevela? On the contrary, the following line of reason would indicate that shechita should not purify the trefa. A non-kosher animal is forbidden for eating, and a trefa too is forbidden for eating. Therefore, it is logical to say that, just as in the case of a non-kosher animal, its slaughter, which does not render the animal permitted for eating, does not purify it from the tumah of nevela either, so too, in the case of a trefa, its slaughter, which does not render the animal permitted for eating, should not purify it from the tumah of nevela either. The Mishnah answers its question. No, you cannot compare a trefa to a non-kosher animal in this regard. If you have said that shechita does not purify in the case of a non-kosher animal, which never had a moment of fitness for eating, as it was born non-kosher, can you say that the same applies in the case of a trefa, which did have a moment of fitness for eating before it became a trefa? A non-kosher animal was never subject to the permit of shechita, whereas a trefa once was. Therefore, even after the trefa has become forbidden for eating, shechita remains effective for it with regard to purifying it from the tumah of nevela. The Mishnah, however, objects to its last argument. Take away what you have just brought as a reason to distinguish between the shechita of a non-kosher animal and the shechita of a trefa, for that will explain only why shechita should purify an animal that was once kosher and then became a trefa. But if it was born a terefa from the womb, from where do we know that shechita purifies even such a trefa? Why is that animal any different than a non-kosher animal? The Mishnah answers, no, even an animal that is born terefa is different than a non-kosher animal. If you have said that shechita does not purify in the case of a non-kosher animal, that is, because there is no law of slaughter for any animal of that type, can you say that the same applies in the case of an animal that was born a trefa, where there is a law of shechita for animals of that type? Thus, the Mishnah has shown that the source for the law that shechita purifies the trefa from Thus, the Mishnah has shown the source for the law that shechita purifies a trefa from the tumah of nevela. The Mishnah points out that in light of this source for the law that shechita purifies a trefa, there is a type of kosher animal to which shechita will not apply at all. In the case of a live 8-month-old fetus born from a cow, the law is indeed that its slaughter does not purify it from being a nevela, because there is no law of slaughter for any animal of that type. Therefore, it is just like a non-kosher animal, for which shechita is meaningless and does not purify it from the tumah of nevela.